right, we'll start with the gentleman in the fourth row with the glasses.
So how satisfied are you with the fulfillment of the current capability targets, and could the new higher targets act like, let's say, as a wake-up call for allies who have not fulfilled the current ones? And secondly...
Can I do this question by question? So first on the first question, well, obviously there is still a lot to be done on the current capability targets. That's basically implicit in your question, and I couldn't agree more. And we need to do much, much more than what was basically encompassed in the current capability target. So that means that this week is so important, because we will agree. And that means that we will assess the gaps we have in our collective defense to be able not only today to protect ourselves against any Russian aggression.
Regarding the peace negotiations with Russia and Ukraine in Istanbul, after this negotiations, peace does not seem any closer today. So with this in mind, are you convinced that peace is possible through negotiations with Putin, or is he just gambling?
What I think is we really have to commend is the fact that President Trump broke the deadlock. Because still January this year, there were no direct conversations ongoing between the US and Russia. And I think it was important that Trump did this. Of course, this is not easy. And we have to make sure that we bring Ukraine to a lasting and durable peace. This is exactly what the US wants, what all the allies want, of course, what Ukraine wants. So Putin should never, ever try this again. And that means we have to test him, we have to sit down with him, or at least with his team, discuss, etc. And it is the US taking the lead on this, and I'm really glad that they do that.
You told President Zelensky in Vilnius that Ukraine is a priority at the NATO summit, but it seems there will be no progress on Ukraine's desire to join the alliance, and there will be no commitment from allies, like in Washington, of a broad support package for Ukraine. So isn't the priority on Ukraine at the Hague summit to avoid upsetting Donald Trump?
The decision in Washington to present to the Ukrainians an irreversible path of Ukraine into NATO still stands today. There is no change. By the way, it was never promised to Ukraine that potential NATO membership would be part of a peace deal or a ceasefire. But that long-term commitment, that irreversible path is there, and we are building the bridge through the command in Wiesbaden, what we are doing together with Ukraine in Poland, capturing all the lessons.
You say that you're all committed, but for the first time since this format started, the US Defense Secretary is going to skip the contact group. What does that say about US commitment to Ukraine? And haven't they gone completely AWOL on supporting Ukraine?
This is Pete Hegseth's second visit to Brussels since he became Defense Secretary of State for Defense of the United States, which happened in January. He will be here for the second time this year, participating in the meeting tomorrow. The US will be present today in the UDCG. The US is completely committed to NATO, completely committed to our joint endeavors when it comes to Ukraine. There's no reason to doubt that. And whether someone is participating, yes or no, in each meeting, let's not forget, these meetings take place most of the times in Europe, so it will not always be possible for US officials to participate in every meeting.
So for you personally, as Secretary General, how important it is for you, for President Zelensky, to play a big role during this summit, and also how important it is for you, condemnation of Russia and also the aid for Ukraine to be prominently featured in the summit's communique?
Indeed, I invited Ukraine to the summit. We will as soon as possible bring out the program with more details. When it comes to Ukraine, NATO, we will have, and this is very important today with the defense ministers, the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, we will have a NATO-Ukraine Council tomorrow, and we will continue having these meetings and making sure that we coordinate to the max. And the summit will play a role there, absolutely.
We are all waiting for the NATO summit, and could you please confirm whether it is true that the NATO summit communique will be shortened and will not include words Ukraine and Russia? If yes, why? And what can we expect to see in this communique?
Well, of course, we are still working with allies and through the North Atlantic Council on the communique. I think this summit really should concentrate on a few issues. Really concentrate. One is a huge increase in defense spending to make sure that we can keep ourselves safe, not only now but also in the future. Related to that, making sure that we really that our defense industries will put in extra production lines, extra shifts. For that, they need to know that we are spending more. They need to know what the capability targets are. And the capability targets we will decide on tomorrow, and on the spending we will decide at the summit. And that combination will make it better, easier for defense industries to take their necessary commercial decisions. Not to increase prices, but to increase the production lines, to increase the shifts, so that our great and beautiful defense industries in the US, in Europe and Canada will produce much, much more. And of course, Ukraine will be discussed and on the agenda at the summit. There's no doubt.
Do you expect Ukrainian side will inform you on the strikes on the strategic aviation and on the blow up of the Kerch breach? Details and what kind of assessment NATO have, it will influence the overall security situation?
Clearly that's for Ukraine, and let's not forget that the capabilities they hit were the capabilities the Russians were using to attack innocent people, going about their daily lives in Ukrainian cities and communities. I think we really should take note of that.
Okay, fourth row center.
Unfortunate is it that the Dutch government has collapsed 3 weeks before the summit, and how important it is, you think, that Dutch Parliament will allow the caretaker government to decide on the new investment plan. And just for the record, you're staying here, right? Or
yes.
Is duty calling?
I am staying here, obviously I should not comment about Dutch politics, but I'm really absolutely positively convinced that at the summit with the 32 we will come to an agreement when it comes to this really big increase in defense spending, in defense industrial production, keeping the support for Ukraine going. I'm absolutely convinced.
When you say Ukraine, do you mean specifically President Zelensky? And is he invited to the summit itself? Would there be a NATO-Ukraine Council, or just to the dinner? And if that's the case, isn't that a diplomatic downgrade on previous summits?
As I said to your colleague, we will publish the program in due course.
I have a question on the spiderweb operation carried out by Ukrainian armed forces in Russia. It's a couple of questions, so maybe, yeah, we know the drill. Has the attack changed the perception of what Ukraine's and Russia's armies are capable of? And has it changed the balance of power in a way that could actually affect the negotiations?
I think there's good reason for me not to comment on everything happening at the battlefield. You know, Ukraine has our full support. All allies want Ukraine to be in the best possible position in the peace talks. We want to bring this conflict to a durable end. And when it comes to a specific operation last Sunday, as I mentioned to one of your colleagues, clearly what they targeted is Russia's capability to hit out, to target with missiles and other means innocent Ukrainian civilians in cities, in communities all over Ukraine. And I clearly take note of that. But let me not comment on every step and then assess what that means for the standing and the war, etc., because that's not always helpful.
Was Ukraine using intelligence of NATO allies for that Pavutina spiderweb operation?
As I said on your previous question, it's tradition for us to not comment on every Ukrainian operation or every Russian operation. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't comment on it. And in this case, my comment is clearly on the targets of the Ukrainian operation. And these are Russian capabilities they use to do this indiscriminate, unprovoked attacks on innocent Ukrainian civilians, cities, etc. And that's terrible that they do this. And I take note of the fact that Ukraine was targeting those capabilities.